Okay, we're going to set up multiple blinking lights, LED here. So I have my code. I'm in the Arduino online IDE, and we have the Arduino board down here and a breadboard. I'm going to go through the code first. They're going to set up the Arduino board with the breadboard and the lights, and hopefully we can get it all to work together. Okay, so on the code, you'll notice it has a void setup, and this is where you essentially initialize the pins and what they're going to do. Loop is what the code is going to do itself, and just above that I've set some of the variables. So I've set an integer LED1 to pin 13. So I've called pin 13, I'm calling it LED1, pin 11 will be called LED2, pin 9 will be called LED3, and pin 7 will be called LED4. And you'll notice I have the pin modes. I've set LED1, which is pin 13, to output, LED2, which is pin 11 to output. So I've set them all to output, all of those pins there. And finally, down below, what I'm going to do is I've written the code for how these lights are going to flash. So it's going to be a continuous loop. And so there's a digital write to LED1, which is pin 13. It's going to go to high, which turns the light on for 100th of a millisecond. Not quite a second, I don't believe. And then I'm going to get it to turn off for that same amount of time. Right after that, LED2, which is the pin 11, will go to high for 2000 and then off for 100 in terms of the delay. Pin 9, which is LED3, will turn on for 3000. I gotta remember what those, if it's milliseconds, I don't recall. And then it'll turn off for 100. And then pin 7, which is LED4, will turn on for 4000, off for 100. And then continuously go through this. Okay, so here's the code. I'll attach it after. But I need to actually build the pin out, which is over here on the Arduino. So if you notice, I have the Arduino board here. And one of the things I need to do is just to make sure everything is grounded. So what I'm going to do is there's a ground here. I'm going to plug into the ground, as you can see. Okay, so I have the black wire plugged into the ground. And then I'm also going to plug it into the negative of the breadboard here. Let's see if we can get a little more light. I don't know if the light is on. Okay. So we have the breadboard pinned in for the ground. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to put in all my LED lights, okay? So I have my cathode and my anode. So I'm going to put 1, 2, make sure it goes in. Apologize, I'm a little slow at this. 3, and make sure I got the cathode, the anode. Okay, the anode is the longer end, and that's where the electricity needs to go into. So to test out the very first one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have pin 13. I'm going to plug in to this row. I think it's on row 6, it looks like. Okay, and I also going to put a resistor in just because the amount of electricity going through is a bit powerful for these LEDs, and that's why I've pinned this the way I have. I'm sure my hands are all over. It's hard to see at the moment with the wires. I put a resistor in there. It's in that exact same row. Okay, just so I don't wear out the life of the LED light. I also need, from the cathode, I need a wire. Actually, I can. I'm struggling with this one. Be better if I had longer wires, actually. Now that I think about it. In fact, I definitely need a longer wire. Bear with me, I apologize. Let me get a longer wire. There we go. Some longer wires. Gonna make sure that this longer wire reaches to the ground. It's in that same row. Sorry, that took me a bit. And into the negative. So, I've done the very first one. A little hard to see here. Okay, so that resistor is going into the anode, actually out the cathode, into the ground of the Arduino. And the last thing I need to do, I'm just going to test this. Very first one. So I plugged it in. You'll see it's on. Move this over just a little. Yay, there we go. And back to the code. I'm going to verify that my code's correct. Okay, saving it, great. Now it's going to upload to the Arduino. When it uploads, there you go. You'll see only the green light's going. And that's because I haven't pinned any of the other LED lights. So it's running through the code. It should have been doing the blue, the red, the green, and it's going to come back to this green. There it is. All right, so it takes a little bit of time. And in fact, it's just going to keep going like that. I'm going to start doing the pinouts for the other ones, okay? So the next thing we need to do is recall we're at pin 13. We also need from pin 11. So I'm going to go over pin 11 here to the breadboard, and this is where the wiring is going to get a little tricky. I need my resistor so I don't blow the LED light here. That's why it's going to go up to the next row here. There we go. And then I also need, so do them one at a time here. I need from the row of the cathode of the LED light, it's got to go back into the ground. Hey, there you go. So it's been running the proper code. So as soon as I pinned it, oh, you can't see that in the video. As soon as I pinned it in, it's going to go green. Now the blue light's going, and that's going to run through the red and the green. So I'm going to continue the exact same process. I got to get into pin 11. Sorry, I just did pin 11. I got to get into pin 9 here. So go pin 9 into this row here. I'm going to put the resistor in. The breadboard's cut through the middle, so the electricity is actually not going to the light yet. I should put the ground in too, actually. Let's ground that little light while we wait into the negative, and get my resistor so that it doesn't blow the LED light. Get in there. There we go, and the red light's now going. And finally, we just have to do the last one. I'll get my resistor in to start, that way it's out of the way. We'll get our other two wires. We'll make sure it grounds properly. So we ground the fourth into the negative. And I believe it was pin 7 was the last pin I was going to use. Pin 7. Oh, that's a broken wire. That's annoying. Yeah. So you can see the code's still running. Never quite turned it off. We just haven't pinned in the very last one, which is from pin 7 all the way over to, there we go. And now, Arduino's running the code. And you notice each light to the right stays on a little longer than the last. And then it loops. So green, 100 milliseconds I think it is, and then there's about 1,000 milliseconds, then 2,000 milliseconds, and then 3,000 milliseconds is what I have written in the code, or 4,000, sorry, is what I have written in the code. So that's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. I apologize, I spoke wrong for what the code was. And there you have it. That is multiple lights running at varying times.